Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PmP End of Month Review. Painters Motivating Painters, the Google Plus community, all about miniature painting. And I am joined here by my fellow reviewer, Kieran Dunleavy. How you doing, Kieran?
Hi, everybody. Jazz hands for the win.
There you go. Hey, Kieran, what I like is you're always in a different location. You know, you're not like me. Like me, I pretty much live in this chair. I'm more or less attached to it.
Yeah.
But you're always you're mobile. You're around the house.
Well, let me reveal a secret to you. If I shift to the side here, nope, not that side, this side, and you look to the background, does that look like a familiar spot you might have seen me in before?
It does.
Right. So it's not that I have this expansive mansion where I can move around and set backdrops and lay the setting. Sometimes I just spin the laptop around.
Sure. Well, that's right. You use the space well.
Yeah.
All right. So this month we are going to review all of the minis, and I think Kieran, my idea was to I know there's a lot of good freehand submissions. So are you all right with maybe focusing in on that and talking about some freehand at the top of the show?
Yeah, there's certainly good examples of that, because I know that you and Paul did a special about freehand cloaking. So you got your examples, and others caught on with that and did some of their own too. So we're going to see that throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many great examples of it throughout the month. A lot of people, I think, are trying their hand at some freehand, trying their free hand. So I'm very excited to look over those, and I think what we should do is, rather than talk about anything up front, let's just jump right in, and then we can kind of talk about our favorites at the end, and maybe we'll do a little more technique stuff at the end. How's that sound?
Yeah, there might be a couple that in the freehand vein to pick out and spend a little bit more time on, but we'll do that when we hit them.
Yep, that works for me. All right.
Before you launch into the screen share, then I just want to share one thing with folks. You notice my tagline down here that says I was worthless in July, and that's true. I didn't do much painting in July. I feel a little ashamed. So for those of you that did, and for those of you that keep plugging away at this PmP, I want to give you both thumbs up for picking up my slack.
That's right. We're all carrying Kieran's slack.
Yeah,
man, it's heavy. Tell you what, shoulders are getting tired, Kieran, from carrying you all day. Man,
I'll get back on it. I'll get back on
it. All right, you ready to share up and look at some models?
Let's do it.
All right, let me lock on me here, and we'll share up. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yep, you're live and in action.
All right, so we're going to start on July 1st. I realize there might be some models from June that we're not covering because of the funniness with shows last month. All that work was really great. It got covered. Victor made a nice video of it, so certainly if you want to see it, you can go check out Victor's video. But for now, we're going to stick to July, and we'll start on July 1st. And our buddy John Crayer here started off the month by painting a nice little rat pack. Tiny little rats.
Yeah, no, these are the plastic ones that you get as little spares rather than the metal ones that you got to spend a stupid amount of money on. So good use of all those extras.
Yes, and which is totally the way to go for giant rats, by the way, because if you buy any of the big kits in a Skaven range, you pretty much get these guys for free, and that's the way to go. He's also got a Giselle team here, so that's nice. Always glad to see the rifle team coming out.
Yeah, rarely seen, but probably more in Age of Sigmar now, right?
Oh yeah, they are sniper murderers in the Age of Sigmar. Fear of these boys. Yeah, good work. He's got a lot
John
of very...
actually did these outrageous. I might say that John's a visionary because he painted these obviously before the Age of Sigmar dropped and all those battle scrolls. So he knew something we didn't know.
That's a good point. That's absolutely true. I just want to say I like his mixed basing here. Even on these little tiny rat base, he's got some rocks and some different color grass, different color rocks. You know, nice little mix. That's good stuff. Way to go, John. A lot of little detail on the rats too. You know, you can easily just take these things and just go brown, dry brush some brown, wash it, call it a day. But that's not really being fair to the rats. They deserve more love than that.
Are you shaming me again? Because that's what I've done. That's what I did with mine.
Well, there you go, John. Your rats are better than Kieran's. That's what
Your
I just
rats
heard.
are better than mine. It's true.
There you go. All right, well done, John. I don't have much to say on them. They look fine. I think it's great. Yeah, good work. I assume this open spot in the back is for a Packmaster. Maybe we'll see him later. Maybe he's still working on him.
It's a reasonable assessment.
All right. Let's see. I don't know. This was something I did. Again, we'll not focus on my stuff too long, but I'll just point out I did this for this was a commission piece for Mr. Skaven and AZ. I was happy to do this for him. And I just love painting kitties. I'm just not going to scoot past a kitty because, you know, I love kitties too much.
You could be the supplier for the nation.
It's pretty true. You could grab any random 10 Warhammer players, probably those including Tomb King's armies, and I would probably have more cats than all of them combined.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So did you try anything different on this one that you had not tried on the previous ones? A little bit of marbling in there, I see.
Yeah, I did a little bit of the marbling, but I had done that before. I don't know. I think maybe because it was a commission piece, I didn't, start experimenting to crazy levels. But I'm very happy with how it came out. I really tried to make it, as clean and bright as possible.
Yeah.
This is not. I think the big difference here is this is done in the liquid gold, and when you look at it, yeah. In fact, I know it was done in liquid gold. When you look at a liquid gold model, it's just a different world. Like the gold is so crisp and clean and perfect and brush strokeless, and you're just painting with metal. So I guess my main thing I would say there is, if you paint a lot of gold, do yourself a favor, get the bottle of Vallejo liquid gold. It's alcohol based, it's a pain to work with, but it is worth it in the end.
Yeah, actually, I see what you mean. I remember you telling me that you got that stuff, and you're not seeing it, viewers, right now, but I'm zooming in on this on my own screen, and I can see what Vince means. If you zoom in at home, you'll see that it is devoid of brushstrokes anywhere on the gold.
Yeah, no see-through, no transparency. I mean, you're basically painting with metal. It's one coat, and it will go on that clean and crisp and perfect. Now, I still do wash it and shade it and then re-highlight it in the normal fashion, but you still get the same clean effect.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
Yeah, there you go. Vallejo liquid gold. Check it out.
Good plug.
So then we've got Asen T, who did some nice hex wraiths.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a dark picture here, but I think I was reading. You know what I did this time around? I'll admit that I didn't do as many times in the past, is read these people's comments to get a little bit more of a beat on what they're doing.
Right.
And he just simply said in this that he was bored and decided to bang these out. So it gives me the impression he just did these in a night's work and off you go.
Right. Yeah, because they're very, yes, they're ghostly and ethereal. They are fairly monotone. But it's funny because at the same time, I'm also sympathetic to the fact that there could be color variations washed out here. I know when I did mine, I just spent forever with an airbrush, highlighting them up and down and back and forth and doing, different fades and stuff like this. And then I took a picture and they just looked like ghostly white green. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's great. and part of
that could always be the great failing of a great paint job.
Yeah. I mean, part of the problem is obviously when you've got a single picture, you've got it from a single angle, right? And sometimes with ghostly things where you're going for these very subtle transitions, especially when you're doing airbrush work, you need to actually have the model in your hand and rotate it to see the color change, right? Where when you look down from the top, the model looks almost completely white. When you look under from beneath, it looks almost completely green. But yet you don't even notice that when you're looking at it straight on.
Yeah.
I will also say I like his basing here, very simple. Nice little, I'm going to guess that's the Army Painter tufts. I like that that tuft set. Good, different gravel and some rocks in there. Yeah, it's good.
All right. Let's move it on.
And I noticed he actually used the Black Knight bodies. as his hex race too, by the way. Like, these aren't the actual hex race. These are Black Knights. They've just been painted as hex race, which is fine.
Oh, right, yeah, with lances and shields.
Yep. And the armor, like the armored barding and such on the horses, as opposed to the cloth, just the cloth sides. But I think that's fine. I don't think a hex race is that well defined. I think it's okay. So this is my buddy Tom here, and boy, does this unit represent a lot of work. He must have worked on this for a month.
I was gonna suggest it seemed like it was longer than that. I recall talking to him back in May about these things.
That's probably true. He worked on these forever, and I think they look absolutely fantastic. He did a great job. And just kind of zoom in there so you can see some of the detail. All the bases have a lot of variance. The puddles of swampy goo and rocks and grass and stuff. He's got the converted big stabba here. These are his savage orcs finger quotations. He actually found these really weird metal goblins from some random producer somewhere in the world. And so he got a bunch of them to use as his savage orcs.
So has he got more than just this unit? Are you aware?
I believe this is everything. This is the whole kit and caboodle.
That's all it, yeah. I dig that he's gone with a very shocking, like warlock style purple here to go with that green. And I like it. I like that contrast.
I agree. I think I think green works well. Like, especially this tone of green he's used works really well with the purple pink sort of, magenta-ish hue, right? All right. Well done, Don. Well earned. All right. Let's move up here to Ryan. And Ryan Easterling with his big werewolf. This guy is pretty crazy. I don't know what model this is. Did he say what model this is?
Let me have a glance.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't indicate where that's from. The style it might be a Hordes model. That's a bit of a reach, though. The style might be Hordes.
Gotcha. Well, I will say, although I don't know where it's from, I like the model. He's certainly very big and menacing. He's clearly metal, I think, as he said, because you can tell a metal fig. I think it looks good. I think he did very well here. I think actually, I really love the eye. Like, he did really good eyes. Right?
Yeah.
Like, those look very human. Like, very well done on those eyeballs. If I had one small critique, it would be in this picture. And that is, I can see where the metal fig did not properly meet here, because metal figs never do, right? They never fit as flush as you would want them to, because that's just the nature of metal casting. And if you're going to do a fig like this, especially if it's big, it's worth taking the extra time to putty that up. Just, some liquid green stuff or actual green stuff, but to fill that in. That way you don't have those cracks.
Yeah, I agree. That becomes noticeable once you start spinning the model around and looking at it. But otherwise, I don't know how this is cast and how there's nothing up here around the head about that. But he probably did some gap filling, I would imagine. You might detect one around the elbow joint to that trailing left arm. But let's not nitpick too much about that.
Yes, overall, very well done. I like the tonal variation here in the maw and all that. I think that's good. It's a good fig. And that's the only reason I tell you to do the gap filling beforehand, is because when you put a lot of good work into a fig like that, you don't want it messed up by a flaw in the model itself, right? Like, all your work was very good. Don't let the casters, poor cast ruin your good work in any way, or injure your good work in any way.
My small interjection here for improvement also would be to yellow up those teeth a little bit.
They are very bright. That werewolf's werewolves are known for their good dental plans. I think everybody, yes, a little brown into those teeth because I would say one of the issues is the fig itself is very much in brown, and so it's very much in all these warm tones, red, warm tone, and then your teeth are actually in cold white because you've got a gray white for the teeth, and so it's a bit contrasting.
Like, unless that was your intention, Ryan, is for us to just look at the teeth.
Could be. I don't know.
That's what we're looking at.
They are eye-catching. And it's a shame, too, because they actually almost draw attention away from these amazing eyes. And really, I would like to see this brought into the brown spectrum so that the only bright of that sort of cooler color is up here in the eyeball. So you're naturally drawn to stare this beast in the eyes, right? Which I think that's great, especially since you did such a good job with them. They look glassy. They look great. All right. Let's see. Tom, again, he finished up some terrain here. So this is actually a set of terrain out of the Bones 2 Dragons Don't Share set. Like, this has a dragon that's sitting at the top of it up here normally, and a bunch of adventurers working their way up to fight him. Really nice set if you're interested in these sorts of big things. But the terrain itself is pretty cool. Nice piece for your Warhammer table or for anything, obviously. It's a great set of ruins for a Warhammer table. And he did well with it.
It seems at first, let me make one comment about this. It seems at first like a really simple piece. I mean, you might just look at this and go, oh, well, that's just a bunch of gray dry brushing.
Did I lose you, Kieran? Oh, one moment. Oh, I think we lost Kieran for a minute. Oh, we'll keep going, and I'll go back to sharing, and hopefully he'll be back in a moment. We will keep reviewing and soldier on. Yes, I think what he was going to say was it seems like a bunch of dry brushing, but of course it's not, right? Because you've got all these different washes and such, brown tones, green tones mixed in here to be moss and to darken up this stone and color it. A little bit of red hues in here as well. So all those different tonal variations come together to actually give it a lot more life and depth than if it was just gray stone. So there you go. Yeah, good work, Tom. All right, next up, Rasmus 7814, and Rasmus is doing some more big Carnosaur with Saurus hero on back. This guy's great. Just a lot of blood and death. This is very well done. I like the base. The one thing I would say, or my couple pieces of feedback here, I mean, well done overall, good piece, good colors. I think my one piece of feedback would be, I feel like the blood should have some darker elements to it in places. So some of this, like here, is too bright. It looks a little more like, lipstick than it does like blood, because it's just too fresh and bright red. So I think what you could do is put some dark brown, like a whole red, something really dark browny red underneath, and then lay your blood color over top, and you'll get a much better effect. And you can build it up to get on the tip so it looks like fresh blood, a little blood for the blood god or something like that. My only other piece of feedback would be, we've got some good color and stuff down here on the base. I like all this, but let's see some I would like to see some actual texture down here besides what's here. So that is to say, we've got some green, maybe a little mud or something, but I'd like to see a little more variation as far as rocks and gravel and grit and height and things like that, grass, all that kind of stuff. Just little things like that. Overall, well done. Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I didn't notice that there was actually the troglodyte as well. Yeah, two different. Yeah, way to go. Two big boys done. All right. Or maybe he's magnetized. I don't know. But either way, well done. Okay. Moving on. We'll skip these two things that I did. This was my first attempt at a Stormcast and a High Elf that was done for some OSL tests, and we'll go to Alicia. Let me just check on Kieran here real quick to see if he's still missing. He's still MIA. Yes, he's still missing. Okay, that's all right. We will soldier on. We're gonna review these minis. We're not going another month. Hopefully, Kieran will join back up. So Alicia did a big snake. Let me see if she said where this is from. I'm not sure. All right, I don't know where this guy's from, but he's cool. It's a cool mini. I'm not sure why he doesn't have a base. That's my only question, but I would suspect there's some purpose to that. I like the color choice here. I like the purple back. We have some green snakes too. Yeah, these are great. Very colorful, very bright. I've got to say, I like the green, I think, better than the purple yellow. Purple and yellow were fine together. There's nothing wrong with that color choice. I just think the green one really pops. Like, that's a very vibrant, bright green. I like the slightly lighter green undertone underbelly. So yeah, way to go. I think if there was anything I would say, I mean, this is probably a commission, and you know, there's a certain amount of time you want to spend. But if there was anything I would, one small piece I would say is picking out the edges of these scales. It's really annoying to have to go through and do it, but going out and doing a highlight color on the edge of each scale, just going, you know, doop, 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 down each one to create an actual angle and sort of life to it, I think could really make it pop all the way. And, you know, it was done down here on the belly, right? Because you have the ridge highlights down here. So I think the same thing up top. Okay. Let's keep going. Soldiering on. All right, this guy, also from Alicia. She did a lot of figs here. I guess this and the next guy are Malifaux. Maybe the previous one was Malifaux too.
I'm back. Sorry for abandoning you, friend.
Oh, that's okay. We just soldiered on. It's just me. It was just me talking about figs. I'm up to Alicia's work. I finished your point, or what I suspected was going to be your point, was that you think you were going to make a point about the various brown, red, and green tones hidden throughout the stone to give it depth and sort of life.
Yes, that's why you are the wisest of the wise.
I was also there when he was painting it, and he said to me, "What colors do you think it needs?" And I said, "I think it needs more green tone. Go over that more."
There you go. And with insider information.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So up to Alicia, I went over her snakes, and now I'm on her dog, I guess. Dog cat?
The Cerberus.
Yes, there you go.
An idea stolen from the Greek legend.
Yes.
Right? Three-headed dog, guardian of Hades.
Absolutely. Or if you prefer, the guardian of a puzzle in the first Harry Potter movie.
Yes. Or in this case, the guardian of some altered dimensional town.
Yes. Because I assume these are both Malifaux figs, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what crew these two guys are in?
Well, the dude, I don't know if you got to him yet in the order of things, but Marcus is the sort of Beastmaster looking guy who's carrying a staff.
Okay. Haven't gotten him yet, but yes, he'll be the next one we look at.
So he's called Marcus, and he runs a crew that is he's the master of beasts. So he talks to the animals, and they respond.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, pretty much. So
let me go ahead and let me do this. Let me stop sharing because I'm not sure it's sharing properly, and I want to make sure it is. Unlock me, relock me now that you're back, and let's go ahead and reshare.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So I apologize if there was some portion of this that I wasn't just sharing, because I just looked up and noticed my camera was still on, which meant it was probably showing me for the past of this. But we only missed one model, which was Alicia's snakes.
Oh, no. When I came back onto the screen, it was showing the models.
Okay, good. Oh, excellent. Okay.
So I think you're good there.
All right. All right. So yeah, I like the cat very much. I think this is great. I assume she probably wasn't basing these because, you know, I'm sure the commission was probably requesting to do their own bases or whatnot. So
yeah, see, the Malifaux guys provide you with circular bases with a slot inside of them, so they got a bevel, which really encourages you to do custom bases or filler bases of some kind.
Gotcha. Now, one thing I note here again, I noticed the sort of crack line here where it's not separated. Now, is that a common thing? Do Malifaux plastics face this challenge of having these sort of seam lines not fitting together exactly as tight as maybe they should?
I'm going to take a bit of a knock against the Malifaux guys right now. As dynamic and beautiful as their models are, their layout of bits on the sprue are just bonkers nuts at sometimes. Like, for instance, I spent my time earlier in the week doing gremlins, and they're tiny. So take your regular sized goblin and make it really slender and small, and shrink it down to about 40% the size of a regular night goblin, and then glue on just the feet separately. Just the feet, for example. I have another guy whose head comes in 2 pieces. So like his face glues on to the back part of the head. And that's all over the place. Like, that's a very commonplace thing in the Malifaux world.
Yes, I noticed that the fig I got when I picked up Malifaux at Gen Con, and I got the special fig was called Miss Anthrope. Mm-hmm. And she's a regular human-sized female, and there was about 16 pieces on her sprue.
Yeah. Enjoy that one, kids. Yeah, now this model here is obviously not as slender as the other one, so it's manageable sized bits to be able to glue together, but just the same, it's a little bit of an oddity the way they do the sprue design.
Gotcha. So you're telling me that liquid green stuff not a bad idea when you're doing Malifaux figs?
Have that handy, yep, all the time.
Fair enough. All right, well done. I like them, and I think then next up we had our beast. Oh, a lot of Malifaux figs here from different people. But
yeah, so this is the crew master.
Gotcha.
Marcus. So she's gone to some hides on the cloak, which is, I think the model itself designs it as a bit of a patchwork skirt. Is it a skirt? Are we calling it that? Or
I think skirt is fair. Yeah,
cloak or whatever.
He's not going to come punch us in the face or anything. He's just a little plastic man. He can't hurt us. Yeah. So let's go. We can say he's wearing a skirt.
So what I wanted to say about this, and Alicia, if you're watching, I'm calling you out on this, because 2 months ago when we did a review, you pointed out to somebody that it would be really important for them to pull out the stitches in a different color here so it stands out and delineates the patchwork stuff, and you didn't do it. So I'm calling you out, Alicia Merritt.
Uh-oh. There you go. The gauntlet has been thrown down. Yeah, I think that, I mean, I know why she made the color choice she did, because she had a darker skin tone on the, on the person themselves. So she wanted to balance that, with this lighter tone here. But that being said, I agree then. I think then dark stitches would have been in order, right? Like dark, maybe in my mind, I would take these to like a German camo black brown or something. Yep. So they really stand out then against the white, sort of whitened leathers or whatever it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So, we tease. She calls me out on stuff. I call her out on stuff. It's
only fair. Absolutely. All right. And then I noticed there was another one back here.
Yes. Quick little story about this lady. She is called Miranda, and she can sacrifice herself to turn into a jackalope.
Oh, which I'm guessing is this thing. Okay.
A jackalope. Yeah. The legendary horned rabbit.
I assume he comes with this little head that he's standing on. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he's very pleased with himself.
That fig is adorable. Let me just say that right away. As I love a cute, fluffy destroyer bunny, so that's great.
Yeah, it's a good little toy.
Very nice. All right. Okay, and then another Malifaux fig here from Skeleton Flower. And this one I know because I actually have this one in a box waiting to be painted. And this is the Doppelganger. And man, I love this fig. I love her, like, I don't know if she's taking it off or putting it on, but just the skin being just this fluff, this sheet she's wearing, right?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to do a naked lady, but without doing a naked lady. So that's why they gave her a towel. So other ways that I've seen this done is that's a distinctive towel or sheet that she's holding to cover her business while she morphs into whatever it is she's morphing into.
Gotcha. I'd like to think it's just skin. It's all just skin she's gonna wear.
Just to make it extra creepy and cannibalistic.
Absolutely. That's what I think. That's how this should be taken. So I'd say my super positives about this are, one, fantastic basing work on, you know, a small mini, like all the different little color flowers stuck under that rock and the various little, you know, boobobs and hoodads on the rock and such. So good grass and tonal variation and little items. I don't know what these little dangly parts are here, but it's more variation. That's always good.
Yeah.
My one note of sort of commentary on it, Skeleton, would be with the hair. Okay, so he was going for blonde hair, right? And I don't know if there's a more challenging thing to paint on a miniature. Forget painting yellow or white or freehand or any of that. Making blonde hair that actually looks like blonde hair is about the hardest thing you can do. And I think, just from looking at this, what I get the sense of, and if this is the picture screwing it up, I apologize, Skeleton, but I get the sense that what you did is you took some yellow paint and you probably painted it that. You probably highlighted it with like a yellow white, and then you washed it down with something like an Agrax. That looks like the steps that happened there to me. And the issue with that is that blonde hair is not actually yellow. Blonde hair is actually a very complex selection of colors. It's flesh tone and brown and auburn and sand and white. And I mean, if you really look at blonde hair up close, it has an incredible amount of variance to it. I don't have a great recipe for you, but there are some great tutorials out there. Most of them involve light browns and flesh tones and whites and stuff like that, and then various like sepia washes and things like that to tone it out. And then every so often, like, you can do a little bit of dry brushing of like a very golden yellow, so more like a goldenrod than an actual sun yellow or something like that in the highlight areas, and then wash over that with sepia. But that being said, fantastic job on the mini. I love the striations on the muscles. And I love the basing. So just one little minor note.
Well, I can maybe add a little bit to the blonde recipe, because I think that I've been pretty successful with that and things that I've done.
All right, hit me.
So what I do with mine is I will paint it, when I'm talking about the GW paint range, they have a yellowy brown that used to be called bubonic brown. I'm just looking in my bin right now to see what it's called these days. Baylor brown is what they call it these days. So you can use that as a base. You can do a brown wash over top of that. And then you want to start moving into bone color first.
Yep.
And there's another sort of mid-tone brown even before you get there called Bane Blade brown. That'll get you a flaxen haired highlight. And obviously there's variations of blonde as well, but to do a flaxen sort of a blonde, if I'm describing that, if you can imagine what that is.
Yep.
That's the ways that I would go with that. So 4 simple steps: Baylor brown, use whatever brown wash you like, and then go to Bane Blade brown, and then finally a bone color as your final highlight.
Yeah. You know, one of the ways I know that blonde hair is really with the most complicated hair type is if you look at like professional's wrong word, but if you look at like display contests, minis of females with long flowing hair, pay attention to how often that hair is blonde. It's not often.
Yeah.
it's usually red or black or brown, because those are much more straightforward to do. You can fake the black sheen fairly easy. You can fake brown is fairly straightforward. I see red a lot because red has just, it pops off the mini, and if it works with your color palette, it's obviously a big winner. But it's so rare on like display contest minis I see blonde hair. All right. Well, that was a lot of talking about that.
Yeah, we're at July 5th now.
Yeah, we're just like the 6th. It's fine. All right, so again, Asen, he did some Wraith. These are Wraith Guard. Is that what they're called?
They are, yeah.
All right. I always love these guys. I hate everything in 40K, like from a model perspective. I really do. Which maybe is one of the reasons I never got into the game. You know, well, I guess I played 40K for like 5 years, but I couldn't stick with it. Except these guys. I loved these guys, and I wanted to do a whole army of them, but man, were they so expensive. And what a fun paint scheme he's picked here.
Yeah, this is a standard-ish kind of paint scheme for Eldar. Like they have their craft worlds, much like goblins have their tribes and, you know, their color choices. So this is one of the color combos that is relatively common in the Eldar. Yellow, blue. It's a great color combo. I always enjoyed it on the Empire side of things when people were doing that for I think the province of Nordland in the Empire also does blue and yellow. And it's very striking. You can't help but spend extra time looking at them.
Yeah, I think these are probably very simple. It looks to me like he didn't pick out a lot of the detail that you could have done here, like the gems aren't picked out and stuff like that. So I imagine these were probably a bit of a speed paint, you know, kind of a get them done. Probably mostly airbrush work from the look of the blending. Because obviously these guys are replete with various details you could be picking out, like these vents and things like that.
Did you read his comment on this? Let me read it to you. He says, "I went into my local GW shop at the weekend to pick up a new white dwarf, only to find it was sold out." So he was looking for a Stormcast Eternal fig, like in that white dwarf. So I couldn't leave empty-handed, so I decided to start a 40K army. Because that's how it happens, boys and girls. You just wander in there for something, and you end up dropping $70, and out you go. You want a magazine, you come away $70 poorer.
There you go.
Yeah, happens to us all.
It does indeed. All right, good stuff. So here we've got a Tau Hammerhead from Chance Encounter. Obviously, all the Tau vehicles are a lot of fun. They're these big anime-esque looking things.
Mm-hmm. I've painted a few of these back in the day.
I'm guessing that gun is pretty destructive. I don't know. I think Tau were just out when I stopped playing 40K. So that should tell you how long ago I played 40K.
Yeah. I'm sure it probably blows things up.
You're right. Probably does. Very straightforward paint job. To me, this is what I give this credit for. It is extremely clean, right? Like I look at this is very clean. Honestly, Chance, you did a very clean workman paint job here. I'm looking at this. I don't see like your colors, your lines are very smooth. You know, there's no bleed anywhere here. Everything's nice, solid color, no, you know, variation of things like, you know, nothing showing through or anything like that. So I don't know if it was, I'm trying to look at that to see if there's like brush or whether it was painted on or airbrushed on. And I get the sense that this was probably brushed.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the thickness of this paint, I can just sort of look and see the thickness of this paint. I'm going to guess this was brushed on. If I'm wrong, you know, correct me, Chance. It's good that you did like the lines here are nice and solid, right? These nice dark lines here around. I guess what I would say is and it's tough with these large flat surfaces if you're not using an airbrush. But I would like to see a little more tonal variation in the tank. Or if you're not going to do that and you got all this open space, let's see some freehand on here. This guy's a big centerpiece thing.
Yeah, so I would add two quick things to this, and that is to echo what you said, is the guy's paint control seems good, because one of the challenges of doing big flat surface areas like this is that you get brush strokes and variances in thickness of paint. So he's managed to control that well. He also has enough brush control to do this black lining to define his armor plates. So building on that, what I would encourage to you, if you're going back to this tank or doing tanks in the future, you clearly exhibit enough paint control that you should feel confident to go in and do some other edge highlighting around those armor plates and where they meet at the very least. Even if you don't want to do a smooth, gradual, airbrush-esque transition of color from top to bottom, at least do that, I would say.
Yep. Yeah, edge highlighting could really be the thing that makes this pop, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Materum here with his Cold One Riders.
Yeah, so we like the bright colors of the Lizard team, as always. It's an opportunity to do that. But when we look at that banner piece, I think we could say this. We could almost say the same thing as we did to Chance just a moment ago, is that you can go in and do some edge highlighting to build some more definition into that banner and make it a little bit more attractive.
Yeah, I would agree. It almost feels like, I really like all the Saurus. They've got good tonal variation, the shields and such, and the cold ones and whatnot. I really feel like it's just that I feel like the banner almost looks just too monotone throughout, right? Like it doesn't look like it's actually real, right? Like it looks like a toy of that relevant size, because it's not, there's no tonal variation in light. And it's a shame because the guys below it actually have all of that proper tonal variation and look correct.
Yeah, it might be that it's quick to achieve with all that scale on there, but not to say that you can't do that as quickly with the banner, because you could, right? You could just go in there with a wash on that yellow so your feathers have some definition, and then some other edge highlighting on the purple parts of the banner itself. Yep. And then you got it matching with the rest of the unit, the rest of the quality on the other part of the unit.
Absolutely agreed. All right. There you go. That's a better shot of him. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Moving on. Kai with a nice little Warlock Engineer here. So I am obviously prone to like these guys, and Kai did some great stuff here with this guy. So just kind of talking through the things I see. Good use of the Nilic oxide around the bolts and things like that to show the oxidation of this copper. That's well done. And I very much like the glowy globes, which he clearly used probably a gloss varnish or whatever on these on the globes to make them look more like glass and sort of glowing. And I like the little color swirls underneath. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta echo that. The oxide is a good use to make it look like old dirty metal that's probably been underwater in some stinky cesspool of the underhive for a while. And he's cobbled it together to make some kind of machine. If we flip back for a second to the snapshot from the back end, one thing I've always thought of, and I'm just impressing my own ideals of Skaven, is I always want the tail to be a different skin tone than the other rest of the flesh. So
I'm actually in that same camp. I always turned them like a dark red, like a crimson color, right? And then sort of I use the same flesh undercoat, but then I just use different washes and highlights on them.
yeah. So that's just one thing that I want. You don't have to go do it. You might get better like this, but I just thought I'd pipe up with that.
Fair enough. But I like him.
Think about it. That's all. That's all I'm asking.
There you go. Hopefully he's ready to throw some warp lightning at the enemies of the proud Skaven people.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Moving on. Maturum, he did these 20 Temple Guard. I had these extra Temple Guard, and when I was down there actually talking to him, he said, "Hey, I need some Temple Guard." And I said, "Well, yeah, now have some extra ones." So we worked out a little deal, and I got him these Temple Guard. So these are the old metal Temple Guard.
Right.
These guys weigh about 1,000,000 pounds. Let me tell you what. Holy moly.
My first army I ever did was Lizardmen, and I had a bunch of these in there, so I recognized them well.
Yes.
I struggled as a novice painter at that time with these helmets. I really, really did. That was a big piece of pain for me back in the day. And I didn't learn till much later about ink washes and diluting them. Diluting ink washes was a thing that didn't come around very easily to me. So that was always a struggle to get that to look proper.
Yeah.
I repainted those helmets about 4 times.
Yeah, bone is one of those things that's kind of tricky because it's using a lot of unusual tones. I think at this point I have a really, really standard bone recipe that I go through. Like there are like, a series of paints I use. I could probably mechanically do bone at this point. But I think that bone needs to show a lot of transition, and there's also a lot of taste in bone, right? As to how dirty you leave it, how much you want it to look like clean white bleached bone versus like something that's been sitting in the dirt, because it will certainly, anything like that will show dirt very easily. So you need to sort of make a conscious decision about what kind of bone you want to be having and making sure that it matches with, the rest of the model, right? Very important when it comes to Warhammer, because everybody knows there's skulls on everything.
Yeah, so you better be good at doing bone at some point. You got to eventually learn it.
Yeah, I like the color. I like the tone. I think my one note would probably be in the halberds. I just feel like the halberds up here are very monotone. And I feel like they could have used just a little something to make them pop. They feel just like, they're all bronze. I like underneath, like I like the guys, I like the green he chose. I like their red headdresses. But I feel like there needs to be something up here. Whether that be a lot more highlighting tonal variation, so taking that, like using a couple heavy washes to get that really down dark and then highlighting back up and taking it almost to like a bright gold or even a silver on an edge highlight. So you could do it without adding actual like color. But I just feel like it needs something. They feel a little too monotone to me. Well,
and it might be in a flat light like this because it looks like wood.
Yeah.
In these photos, right?
Yep.
And to make it look like metal, it does require a few extra layers.
All right, but well done. I hope they. I think in the first game he used these guys absolutely just stomped their enemies. So I'm glad of that. I'm happy to see that happen. All right, so here we've got a warlock from Hordes. You can always kind of tell these guys because they're like. A lot of these War Machine and Hordes people are just standing in the most insane poses. Oh, that werewolf has to be Hordes then, because this is also Ryan. And he has the same armor. Like, if you look at his armor, it's the same as what that werewolf had.
Oh, yeah, I get you.
The mystery is solved.
Good. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we're done.
You can see all of my previous notes about blonde hair. I think that probably also applies here. Oh, there's the werewolf in the background. Yeah, there you go.
No.
And some big doggies. I like these 2-headed dogs. These guys are cool.
Yeah. Something I want to say about the metal, actually, now that I see it spread out over a couple of things, is he's gone with a he seems to have gone with a copper base on that. And the way I noticed it the most was on the butt of dude's staff. I think rather than wash it down, he's actually got copper as a base that he's done some, I want to call it chainmail or bolt gun metal that he's brushed over top of it. But within the runes, it looks like it still remained copper. And now that I see it across on the two-headed dogs as well, you can tell a little bit of that it's copper base. So it's a cool approach to a sort of an antiqued metal, I suppose, is what the impression it gives me. So I dig it.
Absolutely. I like these guys. I really like the dogs. Those guys look absolutely great. I think maybe if I had one small note, it would be this cloak. This is, man, this is some great real estate here that you could do more with, Ryan. Like, this is begging for some tonal variation in here. Cloaks are a gift from the modeling gods. Don't monotone your cloak. There's so much more you can do with them. They're a wonderful time to experiment and highlight, and or freehand or whatever. Never just take a cloak and make it one color when you can do some more stuff on it.
Probably a good palette or a good canvas for lots of sigils.
Yep.
And runes that would be thematic to what's going on in these armors.
Especially if you've got a smaller game like Hordes, where you're painting up. I don't know how big their armies are exactly. I'm not super familiar with the game, but my understanding is you probably have about 20 models on the table, something like that, right?
I think it's a bit bigger than that, but less than 150. Yes, for sure.
Fair enough. Okay. All right, moving on. I did a couple of these guys. They were fun. They are also purple because I wanted to make them purple. All of my servants of Nagash are in purple, and all of my servants of Cetra are in turquoise in my army. That's how I do it. So there you go.
Yeah. So you did some ghostly green in there too, I see.
I did. Yes, their wings are the various ghostly green. Definitely using like the Nilic oxide as per standard, and then I have like a recipe I go to most every time, and then the edge highlighting on the armor plates and so on, and then their lightning swords, because why not lightning swords?
Oh yeah, that's fun. Just noticed that. I did that on a storm dragon at one time, and it was a little bit frustrating. It took me a couple goes, but eventually I got there.
These are some of the most annoying models I have ever put together from Warhammer. Not because they don't fit together well, just because trying to figure out which little pile of skulls that represents their inside of their chest faces which direction and matches up with the other little pile of skulls that's inside their chest and faces what direction, which was very time consuming. I sat there for a half hour trying to figure out how to start the model. It was very insulting.
My fear about these things, and I haven't played with them at all, I'll admit, is getting them not to snap off the base. Did you drill something into the cork to make that more stable?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I pin every miniature to his base. Let me just start there.
Right.
I don't have a miniature that's not pinned to the base. Now, that being said, I certainly pinned these guys, and these guys actually have like so whenever I break tiny drill bits that I use for pinning, I keep the drill bits. Even if you snap it, keep the drill bit and use that when you need a really strong pin. Because that's basically, it's tougher than a paper clip. It's a little iron pin. And so actually they're pinned down with broken old drill bits, and then their wings are pinned into the body. So, and then I actually also pinned their hands into their arms, because I didn't want these big heavy swords, because that would be an easy thing to smack and knock. So, so there are many pins in these guys. They're like a crash victim. They've got so many pins with it in them. All right.
Well, glad to hear it.
And then Materium also did some Morghast. I think these came from Lord Tremendous. I was gonna say I think, and then I saw the bases and I was like, yep, those came from Lord Tremendous.
What a copycat.
They've got the famous Lord Tremendous bases.
Yeah. So that must be a giant heap of super glue then that keeps these things attached to the bases.
I think so, because those are like glass beads.
Yeah. So obviously you can't drill into that action.
Right. Not without cracking it like crazy. Yeah. I mean, I imagine there is some way to do it, but it's beyond me.
So
Much more
it's good to
traditional.
see a big contrast in what you've done and what he's done here, because he's obviously gone heavy on the bone.
Yep.
Throughout, and comparing it to the Temple Guard, this bone here looks way better, and it's that mucky kind of bone that you spoke of, right? You can have sun bleached, or you can have just out of the ground kind of style of bone, but that's what he's gone with here. I like it.
I agree. And I also think like these swords have kind of exactly what I'm talking about, or what I wasn't seeing with the Temple Guard, right? Because I can see like where a wash or something has been applied, and there's some good tonal variation in the sword, right? It doesn't just look like a big flat, it doesn't look like big flat blue. There's, you know, I can see what's going on there. There's some depth to it. So that's good. Same with the armor plates. Yeah.
So we're saying, in how many days was it since he did the Temple Guard?
This was July 12th.
Let's see.
And he did the Temple Guard on July 9th, so 3 days.
So Materium has improved vastly as a painter in 3 days. Is my
There you go. That's it. He's on the up and up.
Progress.
All right, William Page. I know he was in a terrain painting mode this month, given the age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
And here's his little cottage house.
That's what I was doing as well. That's why I have nothing displayed on here. It's all terrain.
There you go. And I love this little house. This is great. I'm pretty sure the top comes off of this, so you can like actually be inside.
Yeah. This is he did a review video several months ago about this company called Tabletop World, and they were on my radar even before he did that video. These fellas kill it. They are head and shoulders above any other building scenery manufacturer in this earth. Like, can you just imagine? There's nothing mass reproduced about the tiling up here. It's all individually sculpted to be, I'll use a whoopee womp word here, organic, right? So
yes.
that it's natural. There's nothing. You can imagine that the guy who made this roof went around and grabbed slats of wood from any and all kinds of places to make that roof.
Yep. Yeah, even the different directionality, right? To like, you can see the off to the side, horizontal, vertical, right? All these little things askew and akimbo. Yeah.
And it's reflected in the stonework as well on all of their buildings that they do. Yeah. And they do take the attention to put all kinds of extra details around. There's one kit that they do that I don't know if William's got it, but it comes with like, it's the market. So it's got sort of a tent awning, and it's got vegetables, and you can buy all that when you buy these kits from these people. So it's by no means is it cheap though. Like, you pay for the quality you get here, but it is super top notch. And if you want the most glorious looking battlefield, you'll invest in this.
There you go. I have no like really feedback to give you, Will. These are great terrain. I just want to call out to the audience the work he did on the windows, of making them, like, he's doing them in this blue, which is perhaps a bit, bright. But that being said, I love the little variation of going toward the corner, toward the light spectrum, right? I think that's a great way to sort of represent that, and I think it's a very nice work.
Yeah. He did another building later on that we'll look at too. Another one of these Tabletop World jobs. That's pretty great.
Yes. So Moses Jones here, inspired by the new artwork of, I'm not going to remember which dwarf god it is. Is it Grimnir as the Slayer god or whatever?
That sounds reasonable. Sure.
All right, sure. In the book, there's a picture of Grimnir all on fire, fighting the mother of all salamanders, the thing that birthed fire into the world. And Grimnir looks much like this.
Yeah, actually, pop to the 13th picture of this,
okay,
real quick, and show that first, and then you'll see what his inspiration was.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, that picture.
Yeah. So this was that was out of one of the fluff books for the Age of Sigmar, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he did this. He posted this on the 11th of July. So he again was ahead of his time in whatever secret worlds he has, where he knows about this stuff before it actually becomes reality. But a pretty cool adventure into doing it. And I think he did a pretty good job of representing what he that image in the painting. Really good.
Yeah. I think I really like this. I love that you took the fire from the hot white down by near his head all the way up to the very cool, like, near black at the tips. That's great. That's good fire. I think my one question that I would ask is, why the gloss varnish on the fire? I'm not sure if he was trying to make it look more fiery, but in general, gloss varnish is almost always the wrong choice, exempting if you're trying to make something look like glass, right? Like, that's about the only time gloss varnish looks right. Because this guy, like, the fire just looks too reflective now. If you wanted a little bit of sheen, a satin varnish would serve you very well there.
Yeah, I don't think I would do any varnish on there at all, truthfully. And it's getting a little overexposed in the photography because of it. So
Yeah,
if you were to hold this in your hand, it might end up looking a little bit better.
that could very well be. Yeah. But yeah, I do love the composition of the piece, the extra fire he added to this layer. That's a great Grimnir, if I'm picking the right Dwarven god. Let's say I am.
I'm sure you are.
Why not? All right, Andrew Wade. And I think this is one of his first submissions of finished work. And I think he was a newer member of the PmP. So, Andrew, we're certainly glad to have you. And I think he said in one of these photos where he did a progress, I don't have it here. Nope, okay. Yeah, not sure what he said. That's okay. I think the color scheme of their bows was picked by his daughter or something. Like, she wanted the purple and pink. I seem to remember something like this. If he picked it himself, that's okay too. But I think this is like his first full unit he ever painted. So, first off, congratulations on your first unit, man. That's finishing a unit of 40 anythings is just a hell of a milestone in your hobby life and should not be underestimated. I believe in the power of skeletons as being something to learn to paint on. If you asked me, I want to get into model painting, what should I paint first? I would tell you skeletons. If you can master, I would make you paint skeletons like sushi masters only allow their apprentices to touch rice. You would only be allowed to touch skeletons for like 2 months of painting. Because if you can master the skeleton, you are ready to go for everything else.
I understand what you're saying there because it's a simple subject matter to paint, but geez, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
I am a harsh master.
You cannot touch anything but skeletons for 2 months.
That's correct.
Like, done. Here's my paintbrush back.
I take it back. I don't want to do this. All right. But yeah, I love the color choice. You did some good blood for being your first full unit. You've got all the right ideas going on here, using the washes right, starting to highlight them some, working on your blending. These are all the right steps you're taking. So you're moving right along. I would say I think what we need to talk about next, Andrew, is basing and how we can do some basing.
He made a mention of that in his comment there.
Oh, okay, did he?
He said he was intending to do mounds of sand that would cover over some of their feet.
Oh, okay, cool.
And also part of why he did purple on the bows is because he had intended to do some purple veins of magic growing up from the sand. And that would balance out against the purple in the bows, I suppose, as a composition choice. So,
all right.
Well, man, I feel
absolutely. Yeah, that's great. All right. Well done, Andrew. I love it. Let's see. Just real quick. I painted some blood reavers. There you go. About these guys, I will say, again, I use the liquid gold. I factory line painted these guys. This is 20 guys. And using that alcohol-based paint in factory painting is about the biggest pain in the took us ever. What I will say is these guys are amazing models. They fit together so well. The sculpts are just brilliant. And these dudes hit the gym like it's their business. Little Malifaux skinny arm people would be just crushed by these guys.
Yeah, Malifaux's got nothing on them.
Yes.
So you were the first out of the gates to show some Age of Sigmar models. Bravo. Good on you.
Yeah, I don't know what made me want to do these guys right away. I don't know. Seemed like a fun thing to do, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought start with the biggest unit. Once that's done, it's all downhill from there. My favorite part of this was I did a little banner swap for the old, I think that's the Beastman banner. Because I love this Beastman banner because it's just a nice big flat surface again, and you could just freehand it and do this stuff with it. And the picture washed it out, but this thing is just a mess in real life of greens and browns and reds just washed and then glazed over 100 times, and then so on and so forth, and just repeat that. And you can, with this that kind of fleshy white tone, you can really get some great mottled colors. Give it a try. That's what I would tell our watchers out there. It's a lot of fun to mess around with After Effects like that on dead flesh and bloody stuff. And these guys are a great way to try.
Yeah. Now that wasn't the character banner that came in the kit, was it? That you swapped out?
No. This is just a unit stand.
With his giant circle of corn.
No, I do have that guy. We'll see him in a little while.
All right. Carry on then.
All right. Let's see. So Materum with some more Tomb King's Love. Painting up a unit of skeleton horse archers. Horse.
The guy's certainly got a lot of volume in July. Like, obviously, he did all of the painting that I should have done. And a couple other people as well.
Yeah, he was cranking it out this month, man. Way to go.
Like, probably 100 models out here this month. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but lots.
Yeah. I really like how these came out. So, Mitt, way to go here. I like it's an unusual bone tone. That is to say, like, it's very sandy, very much into the darker brown-black tone underneath this. It looks good. The choice of actual, like, steel as opposed to gold with them, I think, is an interesting choice. And the red is very nice on there. It's a little bit of color that pops out, but it's not too overwhelming. I would say if there's any one minor note is I would have liked to see a little more red highlight that's about as bright as this standard up here down on their actual bows as well, like their quivers. But that is a minor nit at best.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that. Good analysis. Yeah, and that's more of a composition thing. So what you mentioned about red, and I'll go back to this theory of discussion that we had back before, is you don't want to have only one point of a really outstanding color on a model. If you can put it in a couple of different places so that you're not just immediately staring at that one item and staying there, that would be the purpose for spreading it around.
Yep. I would also take a moment to point out that he's watching Aqua Teen Hunger Force Revenge of the Trees, which is a great episode. Aqua Teen Hunger Force is one of the best shows of all time, so good on you there. Well, good choice. All right. If you're going to take pictures of stuff in the background, I'm going to notice it. I can't be responsible for that. Okay. All right. So, oh, look at this. He also did some snake surfers, like, within 3 days.
Yeah. Did he have the whole month off of work?
I do not think so. I think he was just hobbying hard.
Well, quite the epic effort.
Yes. I'm not sure. What happened to the middle guy's stick? He's just got a stick. He doesn't have no spear on the end. He just got a stick.
Well, to be honest, these things are pretty frail once you get them together, aren't they?
I treat these things as though they are. I treat these things as though they are my own children. My snake surfers are amongst my most treasured of models.
Yeah, I have some too, and they just immediately, well, not immediately, but pretty immediately broke.
So I like your color choices on here. I have a few small notes. I would stick a spear tip back on the end of that. That he doesn't need to be just holding a stick. There's got to be a spear tip in your bits collection somewhere you can rip off and put on the end of this. But that's just a minor thing. What I would say is I feel like these ridges are both simple and complex to paint at the same time, as I've done a lot of these snakes. And you really need to have a strong contrast in here to make these really stand out. And my method for doing it, what I found is I prime this thing in bone, and then I just do 2 heavy Agrax washes to really get it in there. Like really let it pool and turn this like black brown. And then I do a lot, and then I dry brush back over the top in sort of successive bone colors going up, bone to bone white to white at the very top. But I do it in a very slow fashion. Like I take almost all the paint off a soft bristled brush, so I'm getting almost no paint on the Mini per stroke. That way I only get the very edges of it and leave the dark down in the recesses without ever getting any down in there. And you just do, you've just gotta swipe the thing forever to make it happen. But I think that can really make those pop. My other note would be that I see a lot of the red from the hood running down onto this bone here in their ridges. And I think this is just, I think this is a quick extra step to clean this up. I know these things are really hard to paint. I totally get it because, again, I've painted plenty of these. And nailing these ridges without any kind of bleed in either direction, it's not super easy. But, I would still try to push that bleed to the back. Just a quick layer of bone over this to just clean up this overpaint, I think would be very worthwhile on what are some very beautiful models.
Well, I would agree with everything you said, except for Josh is clearly painting 43 models a night, so got to cut some corners somewhere.
Sure, ain't nobody got time for that. Yes. All right, but well done. I very much like the color composition. I like them. It's good to see him. It's good to see all of Lord T's forces finding a nice home.
Yeah, indeed.
Let's see. So this was another commission. This was again for Chris for Skaven in AZ, and he wanted a bunch of undead characters.
Got a few oldies in there.
Yes.
Old man Kemmler.
Yeah, old Heinrich Kemmler. Yeah. He here's a funny story about that. So he sent me a picture of other figs that he had, which was mostly purple based, and so I was asking what he wanted for color scheme, and he said, he sent me these pictures, and most of them had purple. I said, okay. So I did Kemmler in this purple color, and I sent him a picture, and his response was something like, "Holy purple Kemmler!" I think he wasn't expecting that much purple.
I have a similar story actually about Heinrich Kemmler. As you know, I worked for Games Workshop for a while, and when I first started out, I came in for a second interview, and while I was waiting for my interview, I just sat at the painting table, and I said, "Hey, what are you guys painting?" He goes, "Oh, we're doing a new vampire army." And I'm like, "Well, I got like half an hour or so. You want me to help you?" He's like, "Yeah, do this one." So I painted Heinrich Kemmler, and he was pretty purple as well when I did him. He's very purple. So we shared the same path.
There you go. What can I say? I love it. So it's funny because the other ones, then I took the purple down a notch when I did like the Necromancer over here. Oops. Just tried to do more of the color fade, right, of the red to purple. The ghosts were fun to do in purple. I thought this was like doing purple ethereals. I had never tried that before. So that was a fun experiment. And I'm very happy with how it came out.
Do you mean as opposed to going the blue spectrum?
Yeah, like I've done blue ethereals or green ethereals, but I've never done purple ethereals.
Yeah, purple's not the easiest. It's sort of like a second tier color I've found to balance that. So you know, you're an advanced enough painter now that you can probably manage it okay, but I don't know that it's the easiest thing out of the gates for a novice painter.
It's definitely tricky because purple's a very opaque color, right? It doesn't want to blend well, and ghosts need those really smooth blends, right? If you've got any kind of hard lines, that's not good on a ghost. All right.
Well, it's a good looking crew.
And then, so second mini completed out of there. This was Corgus Cull and his Flesh Hound. Fun story about this guy. This was part of the freehand cloaks challenge. This was the beginning of that. And I did a bunch of freehand work on this corner of the cloak, including like an 8-pointed star of chaos. I don't know if you can see any part of it in these pictures. Yeah, there you go. You can see how nicely it's perfectly covered by the dog, because I didn't have the dog on the, on the base when I was painting him.
Yeah.
And then I put the dog down and matched him up, and I was like, oh, well, oops.
Yeah.
They need to make a clam pack of these dogs. That's all I'm saying. This guy is awesome. This new dog, he's really great. I will say, if you're looking to ever pick up some Flesh Hounds, see if you can get maybe just the dog from Bit Sites. I'm sure they'll probably sell them overcosted, but that dog is really awesome. Yeah, so Corgus was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it looks like a fun model to do. And you're really getting use out of your liquid gold all over the place.
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, once again, yes, very much liquid gold.
Yeah. I might have to take your advice and go seek that out.
You
I
should.
bought the GW pot of paint, and I'm pretty satisfied with that. Just as a little sidebar here, their Retributor gold that they sold on release of Age of Sigmar.
Yeah,
I want a pretty good quality one.
Yeah, I want to give it a try. I haven't tried it yet, and honestly, I stay away from GW paints. I fear it, like I try to stay away from the devil. But but that being said, I watched Victor's video where he reviewed it, and I was very impressed with its coverage.
Yeah, it does very well compared to any other GW metallic of this current range, for sure. So it's a better formulation all around.
Yeah. Speaking of Victor, this was his contribution to the freehand cloaks. And I love this mini. I think this is great. And what I love, well, first of all, Victor's backgrounds, like his backdrops he takes pictures in front of, right, are always amazing. Just off the chart.
Yeah.
It's like he's photographing a Sears here.
Yeah. So doing these pink hearts is very cool. And you can see that he's done a couple of color layers in his swirling fern vines. My only small bit is I think that's too busy. I mean, you can dress up a cloak, but sometimes it's too much.
Wow, I love it. I must say, I think it's just the right amount. But there you go. I suppose that's taste, right?
Yeah,
like
that's all it is. Sure. Yeah. Don't take that as a huge criticism, Victor. I'm just me blabbing.
One of the little things that I love is he used the heart pattern on the bottom, right? He decided to do these pink hearts. And what I love about that is those pink hearts exist already on the miniature, right? Like this guy has a little heart on his sword and a heart on his wristlet.
Yep.
And he saw that and then transposed it down here in freehand on the cloak. That's a great pickup, right? Because it makes the whole thing look consistent. Like even if you're not consciously aware of it, your brain notices it, right? Mm-hmm. And I love that. Also, look at this basing work. I mean, come on now. As usual, just knocking it out of the park with this basing.
Yeah. Always aware of the full composition, that guy. It's good.
Yes. I asked him, and maybe you know. Would you know where this this is from? This like little tree shrub thing? I need to ask Victor where that's from.
On the backside? I don't know. I'll have to take a closer look at that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. All right, Victor, if you watch this, where is this tree shrub from? I love this shrub. I want this for my bases. Tell me where I can buy this. He's going to say, like, my yard. Yeah. Right, I got it out of the yard. Oh, real nature.
Never been there.
Yeah, never heard of it.
That's your Twitter, near your next Twitter hashtag. Love the shrub.
Yes. Where is the shrub, Victor? All right. Well done. And thank you for contributing that to the challenge. That was great. Dice Miniature Paint Guy with the ever popular Green Knight. Again, this just has the smack of the old metal one. You can feel the old metal Green Knight.
Yeah. You can feel the weight of him.
Right. It's coming through the screen.
Yeah, and he's done some patterning on here to distinguish that in orange. I see.
Yep. So here's my one note on this, and that is whenever you're going to do patterning like this, have a contrast color in your patterning. It's annoying because you got to do it twice then, but I would take either a lighter color or a darker color and run a line of contrast down one side of this or up on half the edge or something, so that way there's tonal variation within the pattern. It will make it pop so much harder. It's unbelievable how different it will look once you do that. It can be the smallest thing in the world. Just one lighter tone tracing the edge, or half of it gets lighter and blends up into a very high highlight on the end of it, the tip, whatever the case, it will absolutely change the entire composition. It's the smallest thing, but it pays huge dividends.
Yeah. And I have a question for him that I'd like if you can come back and answer this later, is I wonder what sort of material of paper he's used to do the banner trails. If that's some kind of litmus paper, because it looks like it really sort of soaks up the paint.
Yeah, like the paint dispersed out. Right. Yeah, I would be interested as well. Obviously, you have to. This is funny because this model was made with the intention that you would sort of make your own banner or use the little paper. If you remember, this one came with the like purple and white cutout, right? That was just like the stripes.
Mm-hmm.
And but the poles, it came with the poles, but it didn't really come with a banner for it. It just sort of was assuming you'd be using paper to make your banner. So this has always had its own banners, and it's always fun to see what people come up with for it. Man, I love the. I'm not sure about this paper's ability to absorb paint, as it does look like it just dispersed it out. But I do absolutely love the, like what I want to say here, the folds and stuff he's gotten in this, right? I mean, just it's all loopy and swoopy all over the place.
Yeah, and that's why I'm curious what sort of paper is used that it would hold its shape like that, and yet it obviously is absorbent enough that it kind of fuzzies out the paint. So I don't know what style that is, but I'd like to know. That's my question for the day.
All right, that's what we want to know. Tell us, what did you use for the paper? Inquiring minds want to know. All right, back to John, who I know this took him a long time to do, and rightly so. There was a lot of obvious conversion here and such. This was his converted warp lightning cannon, obviously with, I think that's the old screaming bell as a base, and then a big metal rat ogre, and then the old warp lightning cannon itself on top. And then I believe he cast the bubble, like I'm not sure what he used to cast it, but he actually hand cast the bubble.
Is he a glass blower?
It does look like that, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm not sure how he did it.
Because he's got veins of darker green within there, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a curious thing.
I'll tell you what, John, I think you should do a tutorial on that. That's what I think. You should share with us how you did this, because it's a really cool thing, and I could see that having lots of uses for lots of cannon barrels and explosions and stuff.
Yeah.
Or swigs.
He's got a snapshot further on of this taken in the dark, so you can see it lit up.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Ooh, there you go. Yes, yeah. Even lights up. Sexy.
So obviously that's what that trailing wire is from the back end of it.
Yes.
Now let's think about this. How crappy was that to have to drill through the whole length of this metal warp lightning cannon? Because that's what this is. This whole metal shaft is a metal warp lightning cannon. So he's gone through, what is that, about 3 inches of distance?
Oh, at least.
to get there. That could not have been fun. So,
yeah, John, I mean, boy, when you want to talk about effort expended, I don't know that there's been that there's a fig in this that has more effort than this probably took, especially given, you know, all the LED lighting and everything.
yeah.
But that is just the coolest effect. And you can really see the little veins and such when it lights up, right? That's just great.
He's got the imagination of a good Skaven engineer. That's what I like about this John guy.
Absolutely. John, 2 thumbs up.
If it kills him.
Yep, absolutely. Five stars, 2 thumbs up. All positive ratings. Way to go, man. That is just fantastic and something to be very proud of. All right.
Okay.
Moving right along. Mickey Ward. And this was...
It's an Infinity model, isn't it?
Yes, Margot from Infinity, I believe. And there you go.
Is she French? Is that why we got the color patterning like that?
Probably. She's probably. I don't know this model well enough. It's been a long. I haven't played Infinity since a long time ago. And she, and I know like Joan of Arc is in there in one of these armies, and so, you know, there's could be a French theme going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like we've got the French flag out front here, right?
Oh, but he's got like a little yellow star on that one side.
Yes.
So
all right, Mickey, I don't know if we're mislabeling the country. I apologize, but at any rate,
sorry French people.
Yes, well done on the fig. I like the base with the little cobblestone. Action there is good with a little bit of moss. It's nice.
Here's one thing I want to say about the Infinity models I've been seeing lately is that people are really drawn to not using metallic paint on them.
Oh yeah,
Mickey's done the same thing on his guns here, right? So he's just stayed in gray and black tones to represent that.
Yes. I suspect that is probably the influence of their house painter, right? Which is Angel Giraldez, who's you know, one of the most amazing painters in the world. And if you want to know a lot about airbrushing and non-metallic metals and just being an awesome painter, I do highly recommend picking up his book. His masterclass book is totally worth it. Whether you're painting Infinity miniatures or not, he gives you 100 good lessons. And he actually hosts, like, I think about a dozen classes at Gen Con. So I was going to take one of them, but sadly they were sold out by the time I tried to book the event. But I would love to. He was painting like right behind me. And, you know, very cool guy, very friendly. And obviously, you know, he himself is like pure non-metallic metals all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so it's a good effort on that for Mickey's part here in this model.
Yes. Yeah, well done. All right. So let's see, where are we? I want to make sure I'm just scanning through to make sure that things didn't get missed. All right. I don't know. Make sure we didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I've been scanning through at my end as well, and I think we got it covered.
Okay, good. If we missed anything, I will put that. I know I'm saying this randomly in the middle, but if we missed anything, it certainly wasn't my intention. Because sometimes Google freaks out when it sorts by category, and we sort everything in it. We're looking at all end of month, but sometimes things just randomly get missed. I can't explain why. But if it did, I'm sorry. Certainly not our intention. We want to review every single end of month submit. So there you go. Okay. All right. So Matiram with some converted Forsaken. I believe Remington Steele sent him some mutated bits, and he turned some Marauders into Forsaken.
Just ridiculous, eh? Like, it's not enough that these guys are they have muscles bulging out of their every part, but now they got other bits bulging out of every other part.
Yeah, that's great. This one is the creepiest, obviously. There's like a second guy coming out of this arm here. Did you notice this guy back here? Like, he's pointing behind him. You got like a little conjoined fetus
falling backwards almost.
Yeah, it's pretty horrid.
So,
yeah.
So yeah, I guess this probably does put him over the 100 model mark for the month.
Probably so. They look good. It's good conversions. It's very well done, well executed. I think probably my one note would be just the cracked earth basing. I feel like there could be some more here. I mean, I know we're going for a sparse, chaosy based, but I would like to see maybe a couple rocks scattered around, or some skulls, or just some detritus or sticks or other wasteland things. Like you can do bases that are wasteland themed, but still have stuff on them, right? It just like these guys are walking across salt flats at this point, right? I mean, that's really empty. Which, if that's your intention, I guess that's okay. But I think they would probably be a little more alive if they had just some little detritus around the base.
I've not worked with that stuff yet, so I don't know how easy it is to turn that out. But I've had a couple other guys who have worked with it tell me it looks fine until you touch it, and then it just flakes away.
Interesting. Yeah, I've got a couple different brands of it actually, which is funny. I just haven't used any of it yet, so I will have to attempt it and report back as well as to what my experience is.
I think you need to put a fixer over top of it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
To keep it
but yeah, good work. I like the tentacles and horns and all that stuff. Those are very proud Forsaken. Okay. Let's see here. This was so obviously all of my this was my first model of my new Grailguard Eternals. And I decided to convert all of my Stormguard into Bretonnians. And I regretted this not long after I started this fig, as this took forever. But I absolutely, like, I was very happy with this conversion. And so I don't normally want to talk about my own stuff, but here I will just say I absolutely love this fig. It may be one of my most favorite figs I've ever done.
So when you're carving the head out of the Stormcast Eternal to replace it with the Bretonnian helmet, is that a bit of a son of a bitch to work with?
Nah, super easy. They fit in perfectly.
Okay.
The only thing you have to do if you're using Knight of the Realm heads that have the like cloth coming down the back of the helm, right? Mm-hmm. Is you've got to trim the cloth off at a little bit lower than the head itself, than the bottom of the helm. But what's cool is that all of the Storm Guards have a high armor ridge plate on the back of their head, or on the back of their shoulders, I should say, that it actually sits and like almost sockets right under. So you can't tell unless you hold it at like exactly the right angle and like kind of look down in, and then you can kind of see that it's cut. Okay. But for the most part, it honestly like looks pretty darn perfect how it aligns. You're not gonna be able to see it with this guy because he's got this big thing on the back instead. But for most of them, they don't have this little halo. They just have, but you can see where this ridge line is. For most of them, it would just be this ridge plate.
Okay, I got you.
So it hides the cut quite well.
Nice. That's easy enough then.
Yeah, it's honestly a super easy swap. And then obviously this is the standard off of the Bretonnian Army Standard Bearer.
Yep.
So, which that was fun because that is made of metal and he is not. And that is a jaunty angle for him to be holding that at.
I'm sure he's very tipsy.
He is a little tipsy. He's been hitting the sauce in Sigmarime or whatever. All right. A lot of fun, obviously. Yeah.
So I'll give you credit where it's due. Like turning those into Bretonnian flavored is a good angle.
And again, all the non-metallic metal, right? That was actually, and just to return back to what I just said, this method, I used Angel's method out of the book to paint him. So there you go. Like I followed his steps. John Crayer here not too much later. I think he decided to go for something a little simpler. So he was going for 18 Shaltari Ronin for Drop Zone Commander. These guys are actually quite tiny, if I understand right, because Drop Zone is a very small game as far as its size.
Oh yeah, yeah. Knowing drop zone, these must be a centimeter tall.
Yeah, because drop zone's what, a 10 millimeter figs, right? 10 millimeter game. Is that right?
Yeah.
So these guys
Yes,
are
pretty
itty
tiny.
bitty. But hey, you really, for as tiny as these guys certainly are, man, I love them. And yeah, and they're all individual, nice little color changes and variations and lines. You guys are great.
Look what he's done on the bases. You can see that he's like done some kind of some swirly patterns in some angles, and a little bit of glowy dots.
Yeah.
Like I guess they're star walkers of some kind, and he's trying to represent that they're up in space.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's going for. I don't know enough about drop zone to say what's going on. But John, tell us what you were doing with your bases. What were you aiming at?
Let's see if he says something here.
There you go. All right, but well done, man. These guys are cool. I was always a fan of BattleTech back in like the 90s. And I had a bunch of mechs that I painted badly. So I always like seeing mechish type figs around. All right. Moving on, Rasmus. This fig, it makes me so sad because it's fantastic. And why isn't this an actual option? He has a Bretonnian Lord here on a two-headed dragon. Sure, man. I don't think that's a possible model, and I don't even care for a minute. Bretonnian Lord should absolutely be able to ride dragons. Why they can't, I don't know. It makes me very angry that even in the Age of Sigmar, I did not get my Bretonnian Lord on a dragon. But I mean, this has to be. It looks like he started with one of the newer dragon bases because they're all leaping off those rocks, like the High Elf dragon.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Yeah, but then he's got the double heads, and I'm pretty sure the High Elf dragon doesn't have a double head, as far as I remember.
No, but they're both from the same kit. So he's obviously got two dragons and hacked the head off one to make this happen.
Yeah, that's great.
I was thinking the same thing as you. When I first saw this, I like, is that a thing? And I went and looked at the battle scrolls in Age of Sigmar to see if a Bretonnian could ride a dragon in there. It doesn't. So he's just having creative fun. He's creating a model for something that he wish existed, and power to you. Do it. Do that.
Could not agree more. And obviously, yellow and purple are actually really nice together. There's another Empire province that's yellow and purple. I don't know who that is, but I know somebody's yellow and purple.
The town of Bogenhafen.
Sounds believable to me. Let's go with it.
I got one thing that offends my sensibilities a little bit because I'm a complaining bitch tonight, apparently.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
And that is these two little skulls that are trailing off the dragon's wings. So Bretonnia is historically in Warhammer imagery the one army, aside from the lizard men, that just doesn't celebrate skulls. And I think it's a little taint of the purity of Bretonnia to have them dangling skulls as a trophy.
That's fair. I'm with that. I support this. Those should have been snipped. There you go. Should be a nice, clean, good dragon.
Yeah. No, he added those on. That's not part of the model at all.
Oh, okay.
So he went out of his way.
He added some skulls. This is clearly a head taker from like Musalon or something like that. That's.
I think Rasmus is probably a Chaos Lord first and a Bretonnian Lord second, is my guess.
There you go.
Tell me if I'm wrong, Rasmus, but that's my feelings.
But I like the splotch work here on the dragon wings, like this little sort of just tonal variation in the skin to make it look kind of like splotchy and stuff like that, like scale work.
Well, that's what that is. That's
yep.
Those are scales
on
the model.
And that's solid. Also, I need to know if this is a transfer.
Oh, you put a skull on the shield too. I didn't see that at first.
Yes.
What's going on?
This Bretonnian Lord has fallen. Clearly. Chaos has taken over.
Even the Mousillon Bretonnians celebrate skulls? I wonder.
I'm not sure. Well, they're all vampires, so they probably drink blood out of skulls and stuff, right? That's a vampire thing.
All right, we should stop hacking on the skulls now. Let's move on.
All right. Okay, moving on. So Mr. Lee here finished up an Age of Sigmar model. This is the Korgorath out of the box set, which is the monster. You can actually see one of his Stormcast in the background too, which might be in one of the later pictures.
No shortage of gore on this guy.
Oh man!
Celebrating the corn.
Yes. When this guy heard Blood for the Blood God, he took that very seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And normally I would say, kids, don't go over the top with this. Like you're not making a gore fest zombie movie with your miniatures, but it's totally appropriate here. I'm not even offended by it.
Yeah.
And I thought I might be.
A lot of little good details on this I like. The bone has the nice transition from brown to white of like a horn. He's used the nilic oxide and some of the copper armor pieces here you can see. I very much like the pink to white skin transition on this monster. I've used that same kind of transition color palette in skin a few times. I think it's great for these types of monsters. And obviously, yes, just after effects are just like gore, 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 gore. Wow.
Yeah. Even doing the skin, he's sharpened up a few, like he's got a few scars that are dried over, and he's sharpened those up on there as well.
Yeah.
Good.
And then here's his
Stormcast. While we're looking at it, here's another head swap that's on Stormcast.
Yes. Absolutely. I don't know where that's from. He might have said, I'm sure he said it in another post, and I'm sorry, I don't remember what he said.
Yeah, he probably has pictures up later, so maybe it'll come up there.
There you go. But also a very solid head swap. And I believe this is supposed to be like a Chaos Knight of Tzeentch, because he took the hammer off and made it the eye, right? And he did the build.
I remember. We called them the Sons of Horus.
Ah, there you go. So I wonder if this is actually like a 40K Space Marine head or something.
Yeah, that probably means something more to a 40K guy than me, but I do recall that now.
Yeah, if we don't come back, in case he doesn't have these guys posted later, I very much like the eyes that he did here. I don't know if hopefully there's a later picture that has a good shot, but if not, like I love the little color transition in the eye. The orange and yellow. Looks great. All right. Well done. And yes, I agree. Normally don't go over the top on blood, but this is over the top and I love it. So there you go. Go over the top occasionally, I guess. John Crayer again, painting up. He went just loving the tiny figs this month after his big thing. So here I think this is a goblin from the Hobbit box set. Is that right?
That is right. Yeah.
And I love the goblins out of the Hobbit box set. They're so flavorful and weird looking.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really like the aesthetic of that in the movie. So I'm on the other side of the fence. That's not a criticism of what he's done here as a modeling project, because I think he took that movie image and reflected it very well. Again, pale skin tone, kind of like that Korgorath we just looked at.
Yep.
But with enough depth in there that you can see some deep color. So he's got probably some magenta ink or something like that that's making it defined. So yeah, paint job is great. Skin tone nails it. What it should look like. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a fan of the non-green pale goblins that look like they live underground in mountains all the time and never see the sun. Maybe it's just me, but but certainly there's a personal aesthetic there. But yes, I agree with everything he said about the mini. Well done, John. I have no feedback on this model. I think it's great. He handled it very well.
Yeah.
And again, very small. I mean, look at it. You can see his thumbnail. Now, John has hands that could, like, palm a bowling ball, but at the same time, that is a tiny model.
Indeed.
All right. This was my first unit of the actual Grail Guard. These are the converted Retributors with their awful freehand cloaks that I hate, but that's okay.
Well, why do you say that? What's wrong? What do you not like about
that? The thing is too small. The symbol on there is too small. There's too much negative space on the cloak.
Oh, I see.
Either the symbol should have been bigger, or there should be other stuff filling the negative space.
Mm-hmm.
it just looks kind of like there, like thrown on. So yeah, it's okay to hate your own work sometimes. The shields they've all been, again, dremeled the hammers off and then sanded down so we can redo the fleur-de-lis. And I like the fleur-de-lis on the front. That worked fine.
Yeah, it's bulkier than what you did in the back, so it looks appropriate size there.
Right.
And when we're talking about freehand, because we kind of made a point that we would.
Yes.
This is what the example, if we're going to pause here and look at this for a moment, for those watching at home, you got to force yourself to do more than just the flat image. You kind of got to think of it the same as a miniature, right? In that when you're doing a three-dimensional surface, you at least have a base tone, you have a shade, and you have a highlight. So I think that when people prepare themselves for doing this freehand stuff, you have to force that to happen as well. You have to force that perspective of three tones to what you're drawing on there as a flat space.
Yep.
That's the advice I'd give.
Absolutely. That is, I could not agree more. The one, like when you're doing that kind of freehand, you have to, like, what's going to make it pop is when you create that forced highlighting perspective, even on a flat surface. Just think of it like any painting, right? When you look at a painting, it's not two-dimensional. You need to make it look three-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because otherwise, it's just a water slide transfer.
Right. Yes.
Or,
exactly.
Or decals, as you sometimes call them.
Yes, decals. One thing that maybe is of interest here is, so I was very keen to get their armor to be this pearlescent white. And as opposed to, and so this took a lot of fighting and time, and actually an attempt with a new product. So I'll just kind of mention that real quick, as I use a product called Pearl X, which is like a straight pearl pigment you can mix into your paints to make them pearlized. I also used some metal medium from Vallejo into the white, and then I went through, and it's not just raw white. There's a bunch of different white tones in here, white gray and silver gray, and then obviously there's like I don't even remember what I used for the blue tone underneath, probably some kind of like very soft blue ink, and then washed back over that. But that pearl is really, I think, a very challenging thing to nail. So I'm not sure I got it right, so but it was a fun experiment.
That gives it a shimmer. Is that the idea? Yes.
Like both the shimmer and the speckles, right? Like that's really what you're looking for. Like if you think of a pearl, it has like sort of speckles of light in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's easy to go overboard and make it look like glitter. That's not what you want.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No, you don't want it to make. You don't want your miniatures to look like they just hit the strip club. That's not, and they're just got glitter rubbed all over them. All right. So again, speaking of freehand, we return to truly the master over the last couple months of freehand. And that is Victor with his. I think these are some of his final Harlequins, and I think these are actually older models, right? That he's converted up to be Harlequins.
Yeah, they certainly must be. Oh yeah, heck yeah, those are probably late 80s.
Yeah. But I think they fit. He's done a good job of converting them along and making them fit with the rest of his guys.
Yeah. Well, and he's honed his skill with the diamond pattern, and I know that he's tried out a few different approaches to that, but he's probably pretty efficient at it by now.
I would bet so. He's sure done enough of it. I think my favorite little thing on these three minis is actually this middle one's mohawk. Right, and the like sort of massive color. Oh, there they are with the whole unit. There you go.
But
again with those
black,
those amazing diamonds he's done. Like those are just silly good. And again, which to return back to the last thing you mentioned about the forced perspective, right? And look what he's done here in having this tonal variation around the side, and then this single point of light to almost make it seem reflective like a gem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's again to reinforce that if you want something to look like an image on a flat surface, then paint it as you would the three-dimensional surface. But unfortunately, you don't have that edge to drag your paint against. You just have to have more brush control to be able to pull that off.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the multi-hued mohawks. Oh, the 80s.
Yeah. They're all going to Sex Pistols concerts.
Absolutely.
In their full body suits and masks. That's how it was for the Harlequins back then.
Yes. Victor, I mean, we've said it before. I'll say it again. The Harlequin Force, I think, is he's pretty much finished with it. I think it's just a lifetime level achievement. That's something that I don't care if you never play a game with these. I'm sure he already has played several games with them. But regardless of whether you ever did, these are something you should be proud of for the rest of your life. This was a great investment of time and research and technique to make a truly beautiful, unified, unique, stunning force on the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll certainly get attention even years and years down the road. We see the effectiveness of this, right? We just talked about these models being from the 80s, and they're still attractive and eye-catching 30 years later.
Yep. That's exactly right. Look at that. There they are. Beautiful. All right. Let's see. Moving on up. Mr. Lee. Oh, here we go. Uh-oh. I think that Korn is angry with Zinch here is what I'm reading from this picture.
Yeah. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Yes. I hope that guy's armor is really solid. So we can see he's finished off lots of guys here, and I'll kind of cycle through. I know he based his Blood Reavers on the War Boys from Mad Max Fury Road. You can see with like the very white, pale, ashy skin tone, and then the black stripes and like half masks and such. So that's great. Also, one of the Blood Warriors done here, which these again are really great figs. There you go.
Yeah, and it's nice to see a little battle scene too. When we see these pictures put up, makes it feel like there's more action going on. Actually, pop back one snapshot for a second.
Okay.
One thing that I want to catch on here. Let's look at the axe blade here. He's done a few bit of drags of paint from the blade edge going back into the face of the axe. And I've seen this a bunch of places before, but I kind of just want to speak to that for a second, that it gives you the image that instead of goring these things up, he's done a little bit of realism with the axe, that it's just been chopping through something hard because it's scraping away any oxidation on the edge of the blade by revealing that highlighted sort of scrape. And I like that technique on a lot of blades. And it's kind of my go-to alternate instead of the blood and gore, to give you a representation that it's just been recently used.
Agreed. It's a neat effect. It's a simple, obviously, effect to sort of execute on, but it can really just add a little extra something to it. Yeah. And he did it on the little dagger down here too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just my small thing I caught.
Yeah. It's nice.
Carry on.
No, agreed. I see he's fought his way out of the circle. Oh, look at that.
Oh, beating a couple back.
It really tells a whole story. I guess he's won them over. They're all friends now.
No, they're all running away to the edge of the Tupperware.
Yes. There's a really nice narrative in this series of pictures. All right, great stuff. Okay. Kyle here with his Bretonians.
Yeah. Kyle's a local guy. He lives in my town.
Oh, very cool.
And he's been at it for a while, and he's finally gotten the courage to put his dudes online for people to share. So I very much encourage him to keep doing that. But he's been at Bretonia and Empire for quite a long time. So we'll see some of his Empire stuff. He kind of threw a bunch of stuff up this month.
He did.
We'll see over the next few shots.
Yes, I know that toward the end of the month he had a big deluge of figs that he finished up. I think the interpretation of it that I got was he had a lot of people almost done, right? And then he kind of took it up to the next level and brought them all across the line.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's good.
What I'll say here is very clean white. Clean white is obviously actually a very challenging thing to do. It's hard to paint a nice clean white. I think if I was going to say anything, it would just be with the decals, with the decals. You can paint over these, and it doesn't hurt to do so. Use these as your starter instead of your finisher. Like put them on and then paint in them. Like paint an inner. If you just took inside this black and you did like gray inside here and then a quick line of white down the center, just in the cross, you would be amazed at how much different that looked. And it doesn't take a long time at all, and you can really make a decal pop. Same thing when you've got these red over here. Take a dark red and cut one side down this. Just run a dark red down here, and then cut the other side and run an orange or something like that. And again, you'll be amazed at the difference for really a fairly minimal investiture of time.
And I think it makes for good practice for those that are going to do it, because quite often what I hear from people that are shy about doing freehand is they say, well, I can't draw that shape. And maybe that's true. You can't get it perfectly sharp when you draw it yourself. But if you start with this as a base and use this decal, it's drawn for you. So you just need to stay inside the lines to add something extra to it. So I'd suggest give this a try. Like use a decal, put it down, paint on top of it, use it as your guideline, and then you'll eventually get to the point where you'll feel comfortable to just take your own image and slap it onto a model in the future.
Yep. The key to, like, these are not complex shapes. You can do it. It's just a practice thing, right? Exactly. So, and using the templates, these using the decals can be a great way to get you there. But very good, very clean work. I like it. He called me out in this one, saying this one's for me, and because he knows my love of, apparently my love of scantily clad female figures has not gone unnoticed in the community.
You're a very
say?
cool man.
I am a man who knows what I like, and what I like is a scantily clad female mini.
Uh-huh.
When I was at Gen Con, I was lucky enough to take a class with Marique Reimer, who's like saying painter is not the correct word. She is an artist. She has a website called destroyerminis.com. So I encourage our readers or our watchers to go check that out. She's won a bunch of awards, and she won many awards at Gen Con, including the overall best. And she was talking about the types of figs she likes to paint, and she's like, I don't know, I like to paint, I like to paint sexy women. That's more fun. So I was happy to see that I was not alone. See, it's not a guy or woman thing. It's just women are more fun. They have big flowing hair and curves and interesting things going on.
Okay, well, you've justified it for me.
There you go. All right. Yes, my conscience is clear. All right. All right. So I don't actually know who this, like, what the fig is from. I'm not sure. She's a caster, right? But I don't know what she's from.
Oh, no, I got nothing. I'm just going to default to maybe some Hordes thing that he's rebased on a square.
Could be, but I like it. I do like it very much. Let's see. I think you're good. Your color choices are solid. I think the blonde hair here is executed well, so it looks like this looks much more blonde to me. I'd like to see a little more highlights up here on top with either probably a flesh tone into a bone and then rewash down. You could really get to pull those highlights out. But that being said, I like you've hit the blonde hair tone correctly, which is, as I said earlier, a very hard thing to do. So full kudos on that. The skin tone has good transition colors. I think if there's anything I would say, it's just that the green highlights here are a little stark. I feel like this needs a glaze over top of it to bring those back in line.
Yeah, we see that more in. He's got a full frontal shot. I don't know you like that terminology when I'm talking about the ladies. This one here. So you can see that's just maybe too sharp of an edge on that green stuff.
Yeah.
On that green armor plate.
All right, but well done, Kyle. I know we're gonna look at a lot more Kyle. So it's gonna be Kyle for a while here. It's Kyle for a while. So
Kyle
all right.
section. Yeah, it's
This
okay.
is the Kyle section of the review.
I'm glad he's done it. I'm glad he's putting it all up.
Absolutely. This is Warrior Priest. I really like this guy. This is great stuff. So Kyle has I like the scrolly here on the sheet. That was the first thing I noticed. That's great. I very much like this fig. I have one that's like converted over to be an undead character, like in a Black Knight bus. So that's kind of fun. I guess a White King or whatever. But I love this fig. I like the horse blinders. He's well executed. Good color choices. He's got good colors, but not overtly bright. Yeah, I would say I feel like this big flat armor panels are always tricky because you want to see some tonal variation in them, and he did. He put in some, and I know that the camera's washing some of it out. It's just they're always hard to do because they always are going to look kind of flat, right, when you do them in real metal.
What we can talk about on this model real quickly is the parchment. So he's, I think he's done the color tones in that correctly. And for those of you, again, that want to try a little bit of freehand that doesn't require you to be precise, poke your brush into this and do a little bit of scripture if you want to try something.
Absolutely. Also a great use for the micron pen, by the way. That's I mentioned that one of my most favorite tools I reference often to do like this kind of scroll work. A micron pen, like a 0.005 micron pen, is your best friend.
Yeah.
And as you can see here, you don't write actual letters. You just write some jibbly jab because it doesn't, you wouldn't be able to see the letters at this range.
No, indeed. Okay.
All right. Steam tank engineer. Clearly, he's lost his tank.
It's probably just been blown up and it's flying in the sky above him and he's pointing at it.
Yes.
I guess. It's oh no, it's gonna land on me.
Yep.
Here he's gone a lot more transition in the white. If we think back to the night that he did a couple of picks back.
Yes.
I guess it makes it easier that he's got all these deep folds in the Empire style uniform to do that with, but that makes the smooth white and the brighter white a little bit more pronounced by doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does make it stand out. Like one of the keys to using white is you've got to have a strong contrast in there, right? To make your white actually look white. Yep.
So that got it right.
And then one more with the caster girl.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going for the glowing eye effect here.
Yeah, he did that on the last one too with some green color. And he's gone yellow here with this one. Actually, the one thing that makes that look convincing is that he's put a real highlight on the bottom eyelid. And I think that's missed by some people that do try to do this kind of technique, is they need to have that immediate shine right there with a sharp line to delineate where the eye ends and the eyelid begins. So it's good that he's done that.
Yes. So absolutely. There's a couple things I would say about this. One, that's pretty funny. It actually, there you go. You know you did good enough because when I hover over it, it actually thinks that it's a face and wants me to tag it. So well done. That should tell you right there you're doing well enough. So here's my small note. It's good, like absolutely the point cannot be overstated. This dark line here is essential to having the eye glow effect. You have to go from bright to slightly less bright to a dark line to then bright around the edge and then fade out. So my only issue I take with this is this should not be like as hard of an edge as it is. Light doesn't work like that. So light diffuses over a surface, right? So the way that you should attack this is by starting with maybe the thinnest edge of your pure color, but I wouldn't do any pure color, honestly, if it was me. I would mix like 80-20, that color with my flesh tone, and I'd thin it down to something like a glaze, and I would just layer up in this direction and build the paint up right here. And it's going to take you a lot of layers, but then what you're going to get is a transition from almost no light and flesh tone to almost all light, right?
Yep, good advice.
All right. Well done, well executed. Again, like his skin tone work is very solid. He's doing some very good skin tone transitions here. All right. Andrew with another figure done for his army. We've got this is actually the Keeper of the Casket, which I suspect he's using. I don't know if he says it. Let me see here.
It's probably just running them as a Lich Priest like I do.
Yep, exactly. This guy's a very popular stand-in for a Lich Priest, right? Despite the fact he's impossible to stand in a unit because of his big flourishy arm things. He does not want to join up. But again, I know Andrew is recent to the world of painting. You're doing a great job here, buddy.
He's doing a pretty good gold product.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Absolutely.
And highlighting sharply to the top of those blades. That's really good. And he's incorporating his purple again, like he did on the Bowman from before.
Yep.
I'm a little sketchy on the color choice that he chose for the flesh of the Lich himself, though. Like,
I agree. It's a little too similar to the cloth, right? It makes it look like his face is made of the same material as the cloth.
Yeah, that's my only small problem with that.
Yeah.
But,
now that being said, I will get I want to flip that around and give one props here. So this brown leather in this sort of place where it's stitched together. What's interesting about this model, and several models are like this in the Tomb King's army. Ushabti have the same cloth situation going on. Is that there are no strings. So much like Ultron, there are no strings on him. So you can't counter highlight the stitches, right? And so what he's done instead is he's used this sort of crimson wash and ran it down the line, right? And it's tonally very reminiscent of what's out here. That's great. That's a good use of bringing that color in and using it in small ways elsewhere in the fig. And it really pops off these lines and these dots. So I really like that. He has just a bit of that color hinted around here, which ties the whole fig together well.
Yep. Agreed.
Oh, all right. All right, Black Knight Gaming with some good old Bretonnians, the hawk arm. How wonderful is it that this set comes with the guy with the hunting hawk? You gotta love the Bretonnians.
Yep.
So I very much like what he's done here. We've got there's a lot of individual little freehand choices that I think pay off well. And so that is like this design here on the shield and on the tabard of the horse. I like that a lot. I like it's a really bright army. I think of this as very classic Bretonnian, right? Where you had like the 4 colors. Like classic Bretonnians, when you look back, they were often these bright 3 or 4 colors.
Yep.
So like, especially looking at his men-at-arms here, these guys really feel like the 5th edition aesthetic of the men-at-arms of the Bretonnia of that time. Very bright, lots of color. This stuff, I don't know how much of this is freehand. Let's see if we can tell. Or like how much of this might be a decal. If this is all freehand, this is super tight work. So it's almost so tight that I'm not sure that it's freehand, because like the lines on this back shield are perfect, which makes me feel like it's not freehand. But if it is, and I'm not giving you full credit, then I completely apologize. But whatever it is, I love it. This is all the different designs and deco of the shield. That's just great.
Yeah, so there's some good examples here. I agree with you. I don't think that much of that is. Well, there's a couple of shields there that certainly aren't, because that one that leads here with the white teardrop shield that's at the front, it is nigh impossible to paint those little crosses at exactly the same scale and repeat it that many times.
And have them all perfectly equidistant apart.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So either way, though, let's all endeavor to do that. Like,
there you go.
Like in
Absolutely.
the challenge of freehand, let's not think that that's impossible. Let's get to it. But when we're talking about freehand, let's give him props to this his lead champion here. This guy's without a shield. He's got a blue and white checker.
Yep.
And that's really well done. So he's made his edges and delineation between the white and blue very sharp, and then also within it, he has still maintained the depth of shading for the folds that appear there. So that's well crafted. I'll give him full credit for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Classic Bretonian. I love it. And again, I love the hunting hog. And he did a good job with it.
Thing to add, actually, in this one, there's only a small example of it, but his skin tone is really good.
Yeah.
Right?
Really absolutely. Well. Yeah, it's great.
Oh, but he didn't paint the eyes.
These guys are really hard to paint the eyes on. I'll give him a pass on that. These Bretonians are darn near impossible to paint the actual eyes into.
All right.
In this 6th edition time frame, they did not actually. I don't think they considered that. Even if you go back and look at the heavy metal knights paint in this time, they didn't pick out the eyes. So, if the heavy metal team's not doing it, I don't feel bad about not doing it.
Nobody else needs to.
Yes. My other favorite conversion. So this was when I heard that they were making a lantern guy, and the Bretonians have a green knight. Well, 1 + 1 = Green Lantern. So this fig just had to happen. And he comes with his dog here, his dog bird. This was a lot of fun to convert as obviously we've got the new helm up there and stuff like that. Didn't do a big load of changes, just more some very simple stuff. But I added the cloak to the dog, and of course Rex the Wonder Griffhound here has the Green Lantern symbol on his cloak. So
this has been a pretty fun project for you then so far this month.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, still got a lot to go too, by the way. This is plenty more. Expect more of this in the next month, and sadly, probably than the month after.
Yeah, that's all positive.
Funny story on the cloak. I'll see if you can guess it. Do you know, could you guess, Kieran, what is this cloak from?
Which one am I looking at? On the dude or on the dog?
On the dog bird.
Nope. It could be a number of things, but nope.
All right. That cloak is the side arm of the Empire Wizard out of the Wizard kit, right? The one that's like reaching his hand out. And I just cut the hand off the side and used like the actual cloak piece, like the side of it. So that Empire Wizard kit still, as you had pointed out previously, just an amazingly good kit for various conversions and stuff.
It is. Still keeps going.
Yep.
It always has something to offer.
I think every month something I've done has used a piece of that tiny little clamp pack kit.
You better go buy a handful of them then.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. Up to Tom again. He finally finished up his Nagash. And he had got this with some paint on it, but it was not finished, and it wasn't it needed some love. Like when I say there was some paint on it, well, there was some paint on it, right? If that makes sense. If that tracks.
Was it some Sherman Williams paint?
It wasn't certainly up to snuff, but Tom took a lot of time on this, a lot of great TLC, and I think it really comes out, like all the books, the detail down on them, the various ghosts, the basing he did, having these guys crawl up out of the sand.
Yeah, that's a good touch, for sure. I might only have one tiny thing. I know you're tight with Tom, so you probably actually sat with him while he painted some of that. But I think I want him to sharpen up those armor plate edges a little bit more.
It's so funny because it's funny that you bring that up. So there's a lot of discussion. Like he doesn't live near me. I talk to him all the time. He doesn't live near me. But there was a lot of discussion about how sharp do you edge highlight this, right? Because again, the trick with this purple, and I've had this same fight myself, is that any kind of purple transition between this dark like hex lichen purple and a lighter like alien purple is so stark, right? It will just stand out and give you the hardest line. So certainly he went for that and then tried to soften it up a bit. But it's always just such a fine line you're walking with this, right? Between having an effective edge highlight and having something that just looks goofy and way too over highlighted. So
I do agree with that with purple, because you risk it looking pink.
Yep.
And that's not what you want. What I have found, and I've shared this I think once before, is that I discovered that mixing with flesh tone is the way to keep that away from looking pink, or if you go too white, then it ends up looking chalky. And the flesh tone mix is the middle ground.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good piece of advice for when you're trying to mix a highlight in purple. Flesh tone is really a way to go. Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, this is super great work from Tom. I don't know if he'll ever get a chance to play it. Oh, no, just one quick thing. Nice stark contrast on those stitches.
Well, there you go.
There
Alicia,
you
hope you're watching.
There's the guys up front crawling out of the sand. Good stuff there. I like that.
Yeah, good touch. Yeah, good model overall. Seeing a few Nagash models, and it's not easy
a
to
random
nail
Iraq
it,
guy in there too.
He's done it well.
Yeah. Great work, Tom.
Okay.
All right. Another one from Kyle. I think this actually might be my favorite one he did in the month. Which was this. I don't know what this guy is. What is he? He is
These are sold as an Empire captain.
Okay, sure. This guy's great. What a great detailed dude. And again, nice stark white cloak. I think this is the best one. This has the best differing color palettes and use of it, the little green feather and such.
Yeah, obviously big plumage gets the girls' attention. The one tiny thing that I got as a criticism is what's the green doing there?
You feel like you need some other aspect of that green somewhere else?
If he's going to be green, if he's going to have green plumage, then you got to find somewhere else to put that. Because again, talking about model composition and where your eye goes to.
Yep.
That's where it goes to, and then I have trouble looking away.
Yep.
So he's got a couple of ribbons that he ties around his kneecaps. If you want to incorporate some green, maybe do it there.
Sure.
That would triangulate a little bit. So that's just a composition critique more than anything. Nothing wrong with the technique of how it's come together, though. Otherwise.
Absolutely. All right. G ambulance service with some. Oh, they're 40K and they are Slaneshi cultists command squad. These guys are great. Your picture's a little fuzzy. I'd like to see a little higher picture quality. But that being said, I love the figs. I think you did a great job on these guys. It's clearly the fog of war that's taken over the photo. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, or Vaseline on the lens of the camera or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Despite that, it's you can tell some good work in there. If we look at the blades on the next picture over, even in a foggy picture, you can tell that he's tried some cool non-metallic stuff with the blade on that leader there.
Absolutely.
So I kind of do
I love this
sharper picture so we could look at it more clearly, because I think that's some good promise in that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you did great work here, man. Let's see a better picture next time. But I love them overall. I really do.
Yeah,
I like the sets.
I reflect that. I like to see this in sharp photography, and I know that's not always easy, but yeah, I want to see more. Give me some more.
All right. So we're up to the 31st. I think that's it. That was the last one. Everything else is August. There we go. We hath made it.
We did. Well, so in my reflections of that, again, I'm glad to see that it's still plugging on. Like we went for, what did we go there for? Almost 2 hours. 2 hours of review. So it speaks to the community and the volume that they're still putting out. So I am encouraged by that, even though I didn't do any in July. Well, I painted some buildings, but that was no good. No good for display. So it speaks to the strength of the community. It's still going on, and there's always stuff to reflect off of and learn from. So I'm always encouraged by this PmP stuff, and I hope it just builds and continues.
Absolutely. And if you've made it to this point and you're not a member of the PmP, what are you doing? Join up. Google Plus, PmP community. Join us. We'd love to have you. Painters motivating painters. And yeah, I absolutely echo that sentiment. Fantastic work from everyone this month. Wow, what an amazing month for output. Like clearly, I don't know if people had vacation time this month or something, but man, Age of Sigmar being a hit to the hobby, I did not see that at all in the submissions this month. I saw a lot of great figs from a lot of great games with a lot of people painting. So that's wonderful. I say keep it up. I don't care what game you're playing, hobbying is the thing that brings us all together. And let's see it keep happening.
It does indeed. Good. So if I got to force you to pick your favorite of the month, which one do you want to? What do you got?
All right. So favorite for the month, huh? Yeah. All right. I am actually just because I know how much work he had to do to save it. I am actually going to pick Tom's Nagash. I'm a softie for Nagash, and I love the work he did with it. I know what it looked like when he got it, and I know what it looks like now, and so that might make me partially biased, but I think he did a great job.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give my shared award to two fellows, and both examples that I really liked were out of the new Sigmar box set. One of those guys is you, Vince. I'm going to give you credit for some good action and the efforts to convert your boys. So in particular, your Green Knight and his trusty friend. That was one of my favorites.
Yes, Rex the Wonder Griff. Rex is the name of Green Lantern's dog. Yeah, because
okay.
all the DC heroes have dogs, of course.
And then the second one that I want to give real credit to is Mr. Lee Mechshop and his Korgorath, just simply because it's a model that I don't think that I would like the aesthetic of, but he's bringing me around to something that I normally wouldn't like, and I do. I appreciate it. This is the gore, for those of you that were paying attention along here, that was the gore splattered Korgorath that was appropriately splattered.
He was bloody.
Yep, sure was.
All right. Great work, everybody, this month. So with that, we will say, I think adieu and keep it up. Look for another great month of submissions this coming month in August. I know there's already many that have come in. I've been very, very happy with and look to see a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, anything you want to say before we check out?
I just want to say that I promise to participate this month.
There you go. All right. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Okay. Good night, all.